Hi there, it's Nicole for Lawn Fun, and today I have a Yeti slider card to share with you, showcasing the adorable Yeti here with lots of Lawn Fawn dies. I love the little Yeti, and I thought it would be fun to have him peeking out from behind the stitched mountain border. I've also used lots of trees from the Yeti Set Go stamp set as well to adorn the stitched hillside borders. I'm going to start by stamping and coloring all of these images. And I stamped quite a few of the trees to begin with, but not even as many as I ended up needing. So I did have to stamp a few more and color them and die cut them just to really fill in that forefront of the card. But I am going to try to stamp quite a few here so that I can color them all at once. So I have the Yeti and both of the trees from Yeti Set Go here. I am using the Misty stamp positioner tool so that I can stamp them one right on top of another to get some really nice crisp dark black outlines for all of my images. I am coloring everything in with Copic markers. I'm going to start with my Yeti. For his fur, I want it to kind of be whitish, but it still needs some of that shading and definition. I am using some warm gray markers, mostly warm gray 0, 1, and 3. For the inside of the mouth, that's going to be warm gray 8, and I did pull in a little warm gray 6 here and there where I needed to darken up areas. His face and tummy are both in shades of blue-green. I am using blue-green 10, 11, and 13. Pretty traditional coloring of my Yeti. Definitely inspired by the animated Rudolph movies. I wanted to have my little Yeti being able to move back behind that stitched mountain range. I kind of thought that would be funny. So I'm just coloring him in. Here's adding a little bit darker shading. If it's too dark, you can always blend it out with your lighter warm gray markers, which I'm doing here. And at this point, I think the coloring is not near as impressive until you get the mouth colored, which I think is kind of funny. I'm always surprised at how images come to life once you add some color to them. And darkening up the inside of the mouth and adding a little red for the tongue just kind of ties the whole thing together. I tried to decide what to do with the hands and feet and ended up, I kind of went light and I felt like they blended in too much to the rest of the image. So I ended up going and darkening those up quite a bit with that warm gray 6. That's really where I added a lot of that warm gray 6 marker. For my trees, I am using my favorite coloring combination for trees this holiday season. I have used this color combination a lot. You will probably have, if you've seen any of my other holiday videos, you've probably seen this same color combination. It is yellow, green, 9-1, 9-5, and 9-7. I like to use the feathering technique because it adds some texture and interest to the trees. It isn't just a flat coloring. So I did that for all of my trees. I only shared a couple of them here because it's the same thing for every single one of them. Then I'm going to die cut everything using the coordinating Yeti Set Go dies. So it's simply just moving those dies around and die cutting all of my trees. I think I ended up doing 10 for my tree, or for my card rather. I am taking this Stardust glitter pin now and adding detail to my Yeti and trees. Also a little white opaque pin to the Yeti's face and stomach. I love the Stardust glitter pin for adding little dots of glitter. I think it almost looks like frost or ice on the trees. I'm going to add even more embellishment to the trees once I have the whole card put together. But for now, I'm just going to add these little touches of glitter dots to everything. Next, I am going to die cut the large A2 stitched rectangle die a couple times. 3 times actually. One is going to be my background. One I'm going to die cut the stitched hillside borders from. And the last one I'm going to die cut the stitched mountain border. So I guess I did my stitched mountain first because I need to kind of gauge where that mountain is going to be in relation to my Yeti so that he still can slide there along the top edge of the card. These are my stitched hillside borders. And then I need the tops of the mountains also from white cardstock. Now everything at this point is still white. So I'm going to lay everything out, kind of make sure I like how my card is looking. And then I'm going to start adding some color to these pieces. For the items or the borders that are going to be snow, basically, I'm only adding some very light tumbled glass distress ink. So there's just a tiny touch of color to them. Gives it that kind of nice snowy glow look. Then for my background, using my mountains as a guide, I am going to stamp a bunch of the snowflakes from the Yeti Set Snow stamp set. Using Versamark ink and heat embossing with white embossing powder. I'm going to do a little embossed resist here with the chipped sapphire distress ink to darken up the sky. This is going to give a nice contrast to the rest of the card design. I'm going to heat all of these snowflakes up then. I like to make sure and heat the back of the panel as well. This one warped a little bit, but once I attach it to my card, it'll be fine. I really try not to do that if possible, but it can be kind of tricky. And I'm applying that chipped sapphire distress ink over my snowflakes, only really on the top half of this background because the rest of it's all going to be covered up, so I don't really need to color the whole thing. There are my snowflakes you can see popping out as I apply the ink all over the surface here. And that is looking really good. However, both of my stitched hillside borders need a little texture, or a little color rather, as well. I'm attaching the snow caps to the mountains with some glue dots. I'm leaving these white and I'm going to add some awesome texture to these with the Marvy snow pin. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this border, just kind of add little dabs of the Marvy snow pin to each of the mountain snow caps. And then you take your heat tool and make sure and move it around a lot. That way you don't scorch that and turn it yellow or brown. I needed to add a little bit more to this one, but you can see the awesome texture that the snow pin gives to those snow-capped mountains. There's a little tumbled glass on both of my stitched hillside borders. I'm going to take a greeting from Merry Messages now and stamp that on the front border of the card using Versamark ink and then embossing with silver embossing powder. That's going to be a nice bold greeting along the bottom edge of the card. And then I'm going to attach that directly to the other hillside border and then attach this to my mountain border. There is going to be quite a bit of foam adhesive work going on. So I don't want to add any more foam adhesive than I have to these three borders. They are attached one on top of another. And I'm attaching the trees with some Zotz Bling glue dots along both of those stitched hillside border edges. Just tuck in a few more here, trying to figure out the best design to do this, but it adds a nice little bit of color and interest to that middle part of the card and really helps build that scene of the Yeti peeking out from behind the mountains. Once I have this, it's time to figure out the slider mechanism. And I always think, for me, sometimes this is the trickiest part. I'm going to just put a little foam adhesive here. And then I'm going to carefully kind of just tape down my slider. I'm using a straight across kind of short slider here from the Slide On Over die collection. I'm going to tape it in place because I do want to keep that little blue piece just in case when it slides, any of that will show through. So I'm going to set that aside and keep it, but I die cut that from my background panel. Tuck my little Yeti in here just to double check it. And then I need to figure out the best way to slide him. And I do need a little more foam adhesive here for my front borders. That's going to allow him to slide much easier. And then I've got my background. I'm going to hold it in place and glue down that little insert that I die cut because we're going to be popping up this whole back panel. because that slider mechanism is going to slide back here behind on the base of the card. So I'm doubling up my foam adhesive here all the way across. I didn't to begin with, and I didn't think the slider slid very good. I actually had to pull apart my card. Doubling up the foam adhesive makes that just slide so much better, at least for this card design. I don't think you always have to do that, but here's where I pulled it apart. I really think it just made this card work better. So I did double up my foam adhesive here. For mailing purposes, I would very much recommend probably sending this kind of card in a bubble mailer because it's not going to fit in a traditional envelope very well just because of all the foam adhesive. So I used a penny there, glued my little Yeti in place, and you can see he slides back and forth behind the mountains. So cute and fun. I am going to go ahead and finish now attaching the front borders to that front part of the card. I filled it all in. This is only one layer of foam tape, so 3 total. That's why it's so thick. Go ahead and attach that to my background, and then take the background panel and attach it to my card base. And then I can simply slide my little Yeti back and forth. So fun, kind of cute, interactive, just a great way to send an interactive card this holiday season. I'm adding some of the Nouveau glitter drops in the silver to my trees. I'll let that dry. I'll add a little glossy accents to the mouth on my Yeti and let that dry. And my holiday Yeti slider card is all finished. Thanks for joining me today for this card showcasing lawnfawn stamps and dies. Please be sure to check out the lawnfawn blog for more information. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.